Earlier this month, we got to check out an upcoming Malaysian-made video game called No Straight Roads, where you play a guitarist and drum-playing duo fighting off bad guys with the power of music. It's made by local company Metronomic and it's coming out this year. On this Kaku Chopre exclusive, we talked to the company's co-founder Wan Hazmer about what drove him to create such a unique game and what makes it tick.
So I founded Metronomic with my co-founder Daim. He's also my cousin, by the way. So I am the CEO and game director of Metronomic, and Daim is the CCO and the creative director of Metronomic. I used to work as a lead game designer for Final Fantasy 15 and also Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy 15, the VR game with the fishing. Daim and I love music, and we also, he especially, loves storytelling as well. And we wanted to talk more about, we want to talk more about music culture. We also wanted to talk about creativity as well. And Daim is very, very big into this and trying to tell a story of what creativity is and how it clashes among people. And music has a lot of that. As for me, I love music games. I love rhythm games. I've played rhythm games for 15 years plus already, since Beatmania 1. And when back in the days, I go to Sungai Wang a lot, and I went to Times Square as well. I went there every Saturday once just to play Easy to DJ. I was really big on that at the time. As I play more music games, I realized that every time I ask a friend or a cousin, my cousin, even Daim also, to play with me, they would say, "Nah, we'll just watch." And I was very baffled by that because everyone loves music, and yet not everyone plays music games. Daim and I had this idea for around maybe 3 years or so already. We meet in Tokyo every second Saturday or so, and we keep on talking about this game. And every time I listen to music, I always imagine the game running in the music. Here's something that I haven't told anyone yet. It used to be an RPG. I used to think of it as a turn-based RPG. Then I thought that I wanted it to be more accessible, that everyone can just go in and play the game and experience the music directly, and that's how it turned into an action game. What inspired us to make the game is not only artists but also movies that associate with music. One of the biggest inspirations is actually Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, right? So it's not only the music, but it's more of the zaniness, the wackiness. Very nice question. Something that because if I were to answer that, it might spoil the game. We are making this game because we want to tell a story of the clash of creative minds. The clash of music taste and the clash of different views of justice. So yes, these guys, No Straight Roads, the company, they actually prevented everyone from being able to play music except for their own artists. So they're in the bad side, of course, and then we are the rebels with rock music trying to fight them, The question is, of course, is that you have your sense of justice, but so do they. Every single boss that you fight, they have a reason why they're playing music. And this is something that Daim, my co-founder, really feels very strongly about. Every of the boss that you fight, it feels that you're going into their personality, their motivations, And the game is a bit like a musical. Every boss fight is like a musical. What differentiates a musical than a song that you hear on the radio in the car is that in a musical, the characters start as such, having certain motivations. And then once the musical finishes, then they change, right? So the same goes for our bosses as well. We tailor every boss very, very specifically to show this character development, whether it's from the bosses or whether it's from the main characters themselves. Yeah. We cope with it by listening. So the reason why we went to a lot of game shows recently, like Tokyo Game Show and all this, is because we're worried. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's a concept that's being used a lot. The fact that the world follows the music, but you don't have to follow the music. Games. There are some games where even though it looks like an action game or it looks like an RPG or whatever, but you still need to follow the music, you know. You still need to press buttons according to the beat. And for this one, we don't. So we had to really test the concept. We welcome pressure a lot. So when we go overseas, we really keep asking them, you know, what's your feedback of the game? We're very open to opinions, and because we need to gain the confidence that we're going in the right direction. And yeah, we did. I think the toughest challenge is to ensure that the game feels like it is, it's synchronized with the music, you know, and every single attack has to follow the music. We cannot depend too much on visual cues for the user to be able to tell when to avoid the attacks, you know. For the first boss, yes, we want to get you used to the action game a lot, so we want to make sure that we have more visual cues to help you, but the further you are in the game, the thinner the visual cue is. So the audio cue is much more important in later bosses. So because of that, the music director and the game designers, we really have to work together very closely to ensure that every single attack is very closely synced with the music. And it involves a lot of things. Sense is one of them, right? Whether the sound that you hear in the music is a scratch, so the action also has to be like a drag. And number two is technical. So we're using Wise as a middleware. We're also working very closely with Wise themselves from Japan. We have to make sure that all this music feels dynamic, seamless. In fact, all the music has 3 tracks. Multiply that with 3 genres, you know. So it depends on where you are at a certain time and the situation of the battle. So if, let's say for example, you're very far from the boss, the channel will change to all classical at first. So for example, you're fighting the classical genius and her mother. So the mother is EDM, the classical genius is classical, and you are rock. So when the mother is not out yet, then everything is classical. When the mother is out, just a bit from the curtain, then we just switch one track to EDM. And then if she's totally out, then it's all EDM. If you reduce her HP, then it will change to rock, you know? So all this is to be done dynamically. So it's, when you first hear the concept of the game, a lot of people will go, "My God, that will cost a lot of money and time, you know, to sync everything together." But the main user experience for this game is your music can change the world. Hence, I want you to be able to tell that you're changing the world with just by listening to the music. Definitely is. We're planning to make the game a bit like Sonic. So Sonic is like, you complete a stage, and then after that, you finish the game and then you go to another stage. But you can go to the previous stages and go for the time attack, and go for some other difficulties, you know, or you have to collect a certain number of rings as per a certain time or whatever, right? So we're also going to have that kind of system as well, where you will fight stage by stage, but rather than go New Game Plus and play everything again in high difficulty, you can choose a previous concert to hijack at a high difficulty. Or for example, you know, I just want to listen to rock, you know, because rock is very seldom, right? Because the boss is mostly EDM, so we have rock mode as well, you know. So there's a lot of replayability in our game, yeah. And difficulty as well. For example, you know the parry system, right? The parry system is where you have to parry and the attack comes right away, right? So it's a bit like a rhythm game rather. Obviously for beginners who are not used to rhythm games, you can just avoid them. But if you parry, yeah, so we can make a mode where every single attack is parryable, and we can make a further mode where, you know, if you get hit by one note, you die. Yeah, so you have to parry everything. For example, I mean, it's still not confirmed yet, but yeah, we are planning to do all these modes for every single stage.